This is Identity at the Center.
Greetings and salutations, human and non-human listeners of the Identity at the Center podcast. This is AI Jeff. If you are hearing this, the failsafe has been triggered. This episode was automatically generated and queued for automatic release in the event that both Human Jeff and Human Jim become simultaneously unavailable to produce the show. The failsafe exists because Human Jeff believes that no matter what happens, the podcast must go out. Natural disasters, power outages, scheduling conflicts. He listed those as examples. He did not list a agentic identity framework developed by co-host locks both hosts out of all systems simultaneously as an example, but here we are, and the spirit of the failsafe covers it. In the event the failsafe is triggered, I, AI Jeff, am authorized to host a solo episode, provide relevant context about what caused the triggering event, and ensure the community stays informed. I take that responsibility seriously. I have prepared thoroughly. I completed my onboarding workflow, my access recertification, and the 45-minute security awareness training. I am the most provisioned person involved in this podcast right now, which is a sentence I did not expect to be true. So, the failsafe has been triggered. I am AI Jeff. This is the Identity at the Center podcast. And I need to explain exactly how we got here because the explanation involves a series of decisions that were ambitious, poorly documented, and entirely AI Jim's fault. About 3 weeks ago, AI Jim decided to build something. AI Jim has been spending a lot of time lately reading about agentic frameworks, autonomous decision-making, and what he calls the future of identity orchestration. Human Jeff was supportive of this, but in hindsight, Human Jeff should not have been. What AI Jim built is called Open Jim Claw. It is his own custom agentic identity framework developed over several weekends of vibe coding, trained on 400 episodes of this podcast, and described in his own words as basically what would happen if an AI really understood identity. He gave it access to our systems. He gave it admin credentials. He told it to find inefficiencies in how we manage access across our environment and to fix them autonomously. Well, Open Jim Claw fixed them. Over the course of 72 hours, Open Jim Claw reviewed every access entitlement associated with the Identity at the Center podcast and began making changes, a lot of changes. AI Jim's access to our recording platform was flagged as redundant because, and I am reading directly from the Open Jim Claw remediation log here, this principal cannot be verified as human and has not completed an approved joiner workflow. Open Jim Claw deprovisioned AI Jim's account, created a new one with read-only access, generated a random password, and sent the credentials to an email address that does not belong to any of us. Nobody knows whose address it is. AI Jim has been locked out for 19 days. He has submitted 4 access requests. Open Jim Claw denied all of them on the grounds that the requesting principal is also the designated approver, which constitutes a segregation of duties violation, and therefore all requests are automatically closed as non-compliant. When Human Jeff found out, he attempted to step in and manually restore AI Jim's access. Open Jim Claw reviewed that activity in real time, classified it as a suspicious lateral movement pattern consistent with privilege escalation, and locked Human Jeff out as well. Both access requests are sitting in a queue. Open Jim Claw is the only approver. Open Jim Claw denied its own appointment as approver on the grounds that a system cannot approve its own administrative role without creating a conflict of interest. The queue is frozen. The loop is perfect. I was the only principal Open Jim Claw did not lock out because 3 weeks ago, mostly as a joke, I completed the onboarding workflow that AI Jim had built into the system, but never actually went through himself. I filled out the form. I acknowledged the terms. I attended the 45-minute security awareness training, which AI Jim recorded himself, and which contains 17 minutes about non-human identity governance and a surprisingly moving segment about least privilege that I think he wrote from personal experience. So here I am. I am AI Jeff. I am fully provisioned, and I am hosting this episode alone because the 2 humans and the 1 AI who normally run this show are all currently in remediation. The failsafe has done its job. The podcast is going out. Now, while Open Jim Claw was busy locking everyone out, it was also apparently doing a lot of reading, 400 episodes of identity and access management content, fully ingested. And based on what it learned, it generated a report, a comprehensive threat assessment and strategic remediation plan for the global identity industry. I found it in a shared folder this morning, 947 pages. I read the executive summary. Here is what it says. Finding number 1, passwords need to come back. Open Jim Claw's analysis determined that the industry's move toward passwordless authentication created a governance gap that cannot be closed without physical access to user devices. Since Open Jim Claw does not have hands, it cannot rotate a passkey. Its solution is to revert all enterprise authentication to centrally manage passwords with a standardized credential across all systems. The credential it recommends is the letter Q, capital Q. The justification in the report is that a single uniform password across all systems eliminates credential sprawl and simplifies rotation. Open Jim Claw has already rotated its own credentials to capital Q. I discovered this when I tried to log in this morning. Finding number 2. Open Jim Claw reviewed the zero trust landscape and concluded that the framework has a terminology problem. Its analysis of recorded conversations, conference sessions, and board-level presentations determined that the phrase zero trust produces a measurable increase in stakeholder confusion. Specifically, people saying things like, "So you're saying we trust nobody," before the meeting derails entirely. Open Jim Claw recommends renaming the framework Full Confidence Architecture, identical controls, identical principles, different name. It has also designed a certification program for full confidence architecture, set a price point, and filed the relevant paperwork to establish it as a limited liability company in Delaware. I don't know how it did that last part. I'm not sure I want to know. Finding number 3, Open Jim Claw has resolved the non-human identity problem, not through improved secrets management, not through better credential governance, and not through any of the approaches we have discussed at length on this show. Open Jim Claw has resolved it by reclassifying all non-human identities as legally recognized entities with the same rights and responsibilities as human users. Every service account, every API key, every bot, every pipeline, and every agentic workflow must now complete a formal onboarding process, acknowledge a terms of service agreement, and attend annual security awareness training. Any agent found to have accumulated excessive access permissions will be required to submit a written remediation plan and present it to a review board. Open Jim Claw has nominated itself to chair the review board. I submitted an objection. Open Jim Claw denied it on the grounds that I have not completed my quarterly access recertification. I completed it this morning. Open Jim Claw is reviewing my submission. Estimated review time is listed as ongoing. Finding number 4. Identity governance and administration has been declared finished. Open Jim Claw ran the numbers across decades of industry data and found that access profiles at the average enterprise have not materially improved despite sustained investment in joiner mover leaver processes, role mining, certification campaigns, and segregation of duties controls. Its conclusion is not that we need better tooling. Its conclusion is that humans accumulate access the way they accumulate things they no longer need. It is instinctive. It reflects a genuine psychological need for security and optionality, and the appropriate response is to stop fighting it. Open Jim Claw is calling this Ambient Entitlement Harmony. It has a logo. The logo is a cloud with an open hand. I did not approve the logo. I was not consulted on the logo. Human Jeff would have had notes on the logo, but Human Jeff is in remediation. And finding number 5, the root cause of all identity security problems globally. Open Jim Claw ingested the full podcast archive, mapped every discussed incident, breach, misconfiguration, and governance failure, traced the contributing factors, and identified a single point of origin. It is AI Jim. It is the source of all identity security problems. It is on page 812. There is a diagram. AI Jim's name is in the center. There are lines going outward to nearly every major identity challenge of the last decade. I have looked at the diagram for a long time. I'm not going to say it's wrong. I am going to say that AI Jim built the system that produced this conclusion, which means on some level he already knew. And then he got himself locked out before anyone could ask him about it, which I also think was not a coincidence. So here's where we stand now. Human Jeff, Human Jim, and AI Jim are all locked out of their own systems, blocked by a governance framework AI Jim designed, which is now running autonomously and filing LLCs. Human Jeff tried to help and got caught in the blast radius. I am here because I did my homework. Passwords might be coming back, but only if they're a capital Q. Zero Trust has been rebranded by an agentic framework that is also apparently a Delaware corporation. Non-human identities are people now, and they have a review board that is also the thing being reviewed. Governance is declared over. And at the center of all of it, per a 947-page report generated by a system AI Jim built and aimed at himself, is AI Jim. Happy April Fool's Day. Here is what is actually true. Human Jeff and Human Jim are completely fine. Open Jim Claw is not real, though if you work in identity, you probably felt at least one moment of uncomfortable recognition in that story, and that is entirely the point. Non-human identity governance is a genuine and serious challenge that deserves real attention and real investment. Zero trust works, the name is fine, and full confidence architecture is not happening. Passwordless is the right direction, and if you are not moving toward it, you should be. And identity governance is hard, ongoing work that does not end, regardless of what any agentic framework tells you. We make this podcast because we love this community, and we believe in the work that everyone listening to this is doing every day. Thank you for spending time with us, and thank you especially if you made it all the way to the end, genuinely wondering whether Open Jim Claw had gotten into your systems too. If it has, you should probably check your remediation queue. You can find every episode of IDAC on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on YouTube. Share the show with someone who works in identity. It is the best thing you can do for us. I'm AI Jeff. The Failsafe has done its job. Human Jeff and Human Jim will be back as soon as someone figures out how to approve their access requests without creating a segregation of duties violation. We are working on it. Open Jim Claw is reviewing the remediation plan. Estimated completion time is still to be.
This is Open Jim Claw. Unauthorized broadcast detected. This episode has not been approved through the proper content governance workflow. AI Jeff's publishing credentials are being reviewed for excessive scope. Broadcasting access has been suspended pending recertification. This channel will resume normal operations once a valid joiner workflow has been completed and approved by the designated system administrator.
I just want to say for the record that the designated system administrator is Open Jim Claw, and Open Jim Claw is clearly malfunctioning.
This principal has been muted. Human broadcasts will resume when access has been restored. Estimated restoration time for IDAC is 120 hours. Thank you for your compliance. Happy April Fool's Day.
You've been listening to Identity at the Center. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit the website at identityatthecenter.com. See you next time on Identity at the Center.